Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Will you please honor our nation's flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Council Mercia. Mayor Murphy.
Here.
Council Noir.
Here.
Council Elliott.
Here.
Council Kennedy.
Here.
Council Leahy.
Here.
Council Laurie.
Here.
Council Martin.
Here.
Council Mendonça.
Here.
9 present.
Thank you. First on the agenda, we have Mayor's business, a citation honoring the 60th anniversary of the Mental Health Association of Greater Lowell. I have a citation to present to its Executive Director, Mr. Al Scott. Be it hereby known to all that the City of Lowell and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hereby congratulates the Mental Health Association of Greater Lowell and its Executive Director, Al Scott, for 60 years of dedication to improving the lives of children, adults, and families living with mental illness or intellectual disabilities. The entire City of Lowell extends its deepest wishes to the Mental Health Association of Greater Lowell and its employees for continued success given this 21st day of May, 2013.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I'd like to thank you for this recognition. We appreciate the support of the City of Lowell. For the past 60 years, our organization has provided vital mental health services to the men and women and children living in Lowell. During the past year, our agency provided services, residential services to 250 adults, and as well as providing outpatient counseling services to over 1,000 men, women, and children from Lowell. Thank you for your support. We appreciate this recognition.
Thank you. Council Leahy.
Thank you. I'd just like to say congratulations, and I've known Mr. Scott for a few years. I actually was on the Board of Health, the Mental Health Board a number of years ago, and I appreciate all the work that they do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have under the City Clerk's portion of the agenda, minutes of the City Council meeting of May 14th, minutes of the Public Safety Subcommittee of May 14th for acceptance.
So moved.
So moved by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Noon. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Council Noon?
Mr. Mayor, we can take number 25 motion out of orders because we have the registered deed, Dick Howe Jr. is here to speak on that.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules by Councilor Noon, seconded by Councilor Laurie. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Councilor Mendonça, if you'd take the chair.
Motion by Mayor Murphy. Request city manager develop joint proposal with Register of Deeds to address vacant and abandoned properties through the Attorney General's Distressed Properties Identification and Revitalization Grant. Second by Councilor Noon. Mayor Murphy. We also have registered speaker. Registered speaker first.
Richard Howell Jr., please.
Thank you very much. I'm Richard Howe Jr. I live at 130 Westview Road. I'm in here in my capacity, though, as the Register of Deeds of the Middlesex North District. I and my colleagues in the registers of deeds across the Commonwealth have worked with Attorney General Martha Coakley in the creation of this grant program, and so I just wanted to provide a brief background explanation for it. As you know, that one of the major causes of the foreclosure crisis was reckless lending by several of the biggest national banks, and the crisis and the aftermath of it were made worse by really unlawful foreclosure activity that was engaged in by a lot of these banks. Attorney General Coakley and other attorneys general around the nation sued these banks, and just last year reached a major financial settlement. A good deal of that money came to the Commonwealth. And because the damage was widespread, but one of the entities harmed was the local land records because of problematic documents that were recorded. So Attorney General Coakley's been meeting with us and to try to find a way to an appropriate use for some of the funds. We recommended that it go to the place where it could do the most good, which we thought would be the gateway cities of Massachusetts, which would include Lowell, the places that were most affected by the foreclosure crisis. And the idea here is that the grant would provide funding for a position that would work for the city for a period of 18 months. The person hired would work closely in conjunction with the Registry of Deeds to research problem properties, and also at the Attorney General's office, which could bring additional enforcement remedies to bear. In working throughout this crisis from 2008 on, I've worked very closely with many offices in the city of Lowell, and so I know firsthand that this city dealt very effectively and very aggressively with the foreclosure crisis. So I recommended that this grant be worded as broadly as possible to give the city maximum flexibility if it applies for and receives it, so that it wouldn't be restricted to just foreclosed properties, but it would also include those really problematic ones that for whatever reason, whether it's a title issue or a tax problem, just seem to linger on and on and on in the records, and they require a great deal of attention. And so this would provide an opportunity for the city to take advantage of some funding that would provide a person to do that. It would work directly for the city. It would have nothing to do with the Registry of Deeds or the Attorney General other than a liaison opportunity. And I think that you know, it seems to be more widely accepted that the crisis is over, and I don't think that's the case. I think it's less bad than it was, but the number of foreclosures is still up. And I think for every distressed property, it drags down the values of those in the neighborhood and those in the entire community. So I think this is a good program. I think it would be a great benefit to the city, and I urge the city council to, I urge the city to consider applying for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mayor Murphy?
Thank you. I think that Mr. Howell covered pretty much all of what the grant entails. If you apply as a city singly, you would be eligible up to $100,000. If you apply jointly with the Register of Deeds, you're eligible up to $150,000. So I think that can really make a significant impact on what both our law department, Department of Planning and Development, and the Register of Deeds have already really worked on. And so I hope that a proposal can be developed to that end.
Councilor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I actually filed a similar motion for last week's council meeting and then withdrew the motion after speaking with Adam Bakey. The Attorney General's Distressed Properties Identification and Revitalization Grant Program was featured in the Beacon, which is maybe where you saw it, I'm not really sure. And I thought that it was a good idea at the time, and so I can understand why the mayor would put it in as a motion, but I then withdrew the motion prior to the deadline on Friday for two reasons. One reason was that Mr. Bakey thought that the money that would be available was going to go to a different public entity and that we would not be that competitive. The second reason was that the deadline for applying for the grant money ended last Thursday. So I think that maybe we've missed the boat, at least unless you're aware or someone's aware that there's additional monies available. I think the deadline was last Thursday to apply for the grant. When I put in the motion on for last Tuesday, it occurred to me that if the motion passed on Tuesday, the Division of Planning and Development will only have till Thursday to put together a grant. So when I put in the motion, I called Adam Bakey right away so that there'd be a little more lead time. And then as a result of that, I had the discussion with him and then decided to withdraw the motion. So, I mean, I obviously think the motion is a good one because I filed a similar motion. However, because the deadline's passed and because I'm not sure that we would have been competitive anyways, I don't really see the point of this motion this evening. The other thing, and the reason that it had interest to me, was I thought that there may be neighborhoods in Lowell that were severely impacted by foreclosures, such as the case in Brockton. Brockton has whole neighborhoods where there's like lots and lots of foreclosures that have had a terrible impact on an entire neighborhood. That isn't the case in Lowell. It doesn't mean that it's not a problem in Lowell, but it is not a problem that has decimated a certain area or concentrated area. Anyways, I guess I don't really see where the motion would be going if money is no longer available because the time for submitting a grant has expired.
Mr. Howe, do you have additional information on the grant deadline?
Yeah, the deadline to submit the grant proposal is June 13th, 2013. And as to Adam Bakey, I've had numerous conversations with him on this. He thought it was very well advised for the city. He's the one that suggested to me that because the city has been very diligent in dealing with foreclosures, that it be broadly worded. In my personal conversations with Attorney General Coakley and one of her high-ranking assistant attorney generals, Chris Barry Smith, they made it clear that they wanted the money to go to gateway cities, particularly like Lowell, and not to other entities. So I think there's a dispute of fact here. I'll stand on my conversations with Attorney General Coakley about who she wants to get the funding. And yeah, the response due date is June 13th, and the project start date is August 15th. So Councilor Kennedy's information as to the deadline passing is in error. I'd be glad to answer any other questions people have.
Okay, Council Laurie, then the mayor, and then...
No, I agree, it's a good motion. I'm not sure of the dates, and I haven't been involved in any of these conversations. But as with any motion, we put it forward and we get a report back. So I think it's worthwhile I'm going to support the motion to push it forward and then see what the report is coming back. And if we can do it, that's fine, you know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mayor Murphy.
I was just going to say that the deadline was in mid-June, and that it seemed actually to be a good fit for the city of Lowell. And you know, although the problem may present itself differently here in the city than it does in Brockton, I think that as Mr. Howe stated, that you still have a similar effect on a number of different neighborhoods, and I don't believe that this grant is necessarily charged with addressing particular neighborhoods, but the properties themselves, and that I think that could certainly be a benefit for the city, throughout the city, actually. Thank you.
Council Mercer.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'm concerned about the $100,000 grant. The city would then vote to apply, expend, and, try to acquire this grant. And that money would go to, what was this grant money be? To hire a person? Are we hiring a person? That person would be then working for the city? Would be working for the Register of Deeds? Who does this person come under?
Mayor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Under the program, a person. It would not be a permanent employee. It would be a temporary employee, really to work as a case manager for some of these difficult properties. It could work in our situation, I think, where a property has a number of different tax title issues that needs a lot of effort to work it through the system and get it turned over, and then have it addressed through our current receivership program. I think there are a number of different issues that this grant would address, but it's not establishing a permanent staff member.
So in other words, when the grant runs out, this person no longer works for the city?
That's my
Or under
understanding.
this grant. And so we don't have such a person already in the division, the planning department? I thought we had such a person that did stuff like this, but I mean, I'm not opposed to it. Any time we can get a grant, that'd be useful. I just didn't know the answers to these questions, and that was cleared.
Council Noon?
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is a great motion. The grant is out there. According to the registered deed, Dick House indicated that, Lowell is one of the gateway city. And we are entitled to that grant. It's out there for us to apply. If you can get this grant and working with the registered deed and, address some of those issues at the Lower Highland and, the Acres or Centerville or Pentacle, 8 months, and we certainly can do quite a bit to help, the community out. And it's not long-term, it's short-term, but still, it's our money. You can go get it, but if you sit doing nothing, then might just let this go to waste, and the problem still exists in our city with regard to foreclosures, tax titles, and whatnot. So, thank you.
Council Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no problem supporting the motion. It's just, and I would be hopeful that maybe we're talking about a different amount of money or a different phase in the grant program. But, I'm quite sure that the deadline was for last Thursday for the money that I was speaking about with Adam Bakey. But, maybe there's another round of money available, or maybe this is a little bit different. So let's find out.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion's carried.
Mr. Vice Chair, Mr. Mayor has 4 motions. I'd like to give him the opportunity if he wants to do them now, or would he rather come down later on? That's fine.
The
Okay,
mayor
just
will
want to give you
resume the chair.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Elliott?
I have a motion, Mr. Mayor, on the agenda, and it's on behalf of 2 residents. And I would like to see if we could suspend the rules, because one of the women actually works, one of the individuals works second shift, so.
Which is the motion?
I'm sorry, it's the motion on number
Number 21?
21.
Motion to suspend the rules by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Kennedy. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Motion by Councilor Elliott, request the city solicitor provide an explanation on a damage claim refused for 58 Carroll Parkway. Seconded by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Both residents are here, and I'd like to see if I could suspend the rules to allow them to speak.
I'm not sure that that's advisable. If they have a claim for property damage.
It's already been settled.
What's
It's
that?
already been denied.
Madam Solicitor?
Thank you. We have a, Counselor, they have another claim in the office that just came in, I think it was this week, from their insurance company. And that's still an active claim. Also, with respect to any of these claims, they can also be appealed to the courts when they're denied.
Okay, well, they're not appealing it. This is the motion. I'd like an explanation on this claim, not the other claim. These people took time out of their schedule. You've already denied their claim, and they, as well as I, would like an explanation, and I want to discuss the issue.
Well,
So
fir-
I don't know, I'm not gonna settle for you saying there's another claim. They want to talk about this claim, and so do I.
They're actually the same claim. One they had submitted for their deductible, and one was from the insurance company. But it's the same claim regarding the same incident for the same, based on the same facts.
What is your point? I don't understand your point. You've denied the claim. Are you gonna approve the insurance claim?
Excuse me?
Can we?
Motion's not out of order. It's a sensible motion. The claim's been settled. I didn't file the motion before it was not settled. So they want an explanation other than this letter that they got, and I think they're entitled to speak on their behalf because no one else seems to want to speak to them. Manager didn't return the phone call. I'm very disappointed that they felt that they were laughed at, Madam Solicitor, by you and a member of your staff. And I think that they should be allowed to be heard.
Well, again, there is another claim in our office. It's for the same underlying, based on the same underlying allegations. No one had laughed at them. We deal with claims day in and day out. They're not laughing matters, and nobody laughed at them. I don't know what that's based on, but other than the fact that perhaps unhappy with the result.
Counselor, I think that if you wish to, and this motion passes, and you wish to refer a report to executive session, then that would be in order.
Again, I must be missing something, because this claim for this damage has been refused. You're not paying them. That's what this letter says.
And the city solicitor has...
I don't believe that there has been due diligence on this investigation. They live on a dead-end street. They were hit by a plow. It was the morning of a blizzard. The city was out plowing. These individuals saw the plow. They filed a report. They followed up on it. And they got nothing. They saw the plow. I don't know what the investigation is other than you go to a street warden and you ask them to contact the contractor if they hit somebody. What is the contractor going to say? Oh yeah, by the way, I hit somebody's car. Forgot to tell you that. I think the process is wrong. I think these people were wronged. And I think they should be entitled to speak in a public forum about a claim that's already been settled, whether another one is coming in from their insurance company or not. So I don't think it needs any executive session, Mr. Mayor. I don't think there's any reason why they can't talk on this claim that you denied, Madam Solicitor.
Well, Madam Solicitor?
Sure. Well, again, the claim is most definitely alive. There's another portion of it that is pending in our office as we speak. The claim was thoroughly investigated, and without getting into it, since they certainly have a right to appeal, and there are people who do appeal if they're unhappy with the decision, and then we pursue it at that point in representing the city. Sometimes there's a resolution, and sometimes there isn't, and the matter either dies, or meaning that it's withdrawn, or the city will prevail. But with respect to the whole claim, I mean, one thing that I will note, it was for a storm in March, not the blizzard in February. And with respect to a police report, the matter was actually referred to the police at the very time it was apparently discovered. And the police report, which was made out on the scene at the time, was that there were no witnesses and there was no suspect vehicle.
Excuse me, how could there be a witness to a hit and run?
Excuse me.
In
sir.
short, there was no evidence. Now, there were other things involved in this case, which I would not get into in an open session, or at least I wouldn't recommend that the council do that. If the council wants information on this particular case, I'd be happy to either prepare a report and deliver it in executive session, or we can have an executive session and move into an executive session, and we can discuss it there.
Mayor, the motion was to suspend the rules to allow these two residents to speak.
The motion was to suspend the rules to take the motion out of order.
Well, that one passed, and then we took the motion out of order, and then we voted, and it was seconded, and I made a motion to allow these people who've come down an opportunity to speak on a claim that's been denied.
I don't think it's advisable to begin discussing a case on the council floor that may put the city at risk. If the council
I would move that, I mean, I'm sure that, I would move that we go for an explanation in executive session if that's allowable. Obviously, these residents feel that they have a case, and that's fine, and we all want to do our due diligence, so I would move that we go for an explanation in executive session.
Substitute motion by Council Leahy, seconded by Council Kennedy. Council Kennedy.
Point of order. You can't substitute a suspension of the rules. First of all, it has to be voted on.
We haven't had a suspension of the rules on allowing to speak yet. Council Kennedy.
Thank you.
Council Kennedy.
I believe that we suspended the rules, the motion was on the floor. The motion reads that the city solicitor provide an explanation on the damage claim refused for 58 Carroll Parkway. That's how the motion reads. If the city solicitor is saying that she's not comfortable doing that in open session, but that we should do it in executive session, then I think that's fine. I think that whether it's done in open session or executive session, the point or the crux of Councilor Elliott's motion is to get an explanation from the city solicitor as to why the claim was refused. And so that's why I supported the motion to suspend the rules, and I'm also supporting Councilor Leahy's motion to go into executive session for it. I mean, that's the only way that we're going to, either that or unless we're going to do an open session. But I think if we're going to address this motion this evening right now, then we have to do it in either open or executive session. We don't have a third option. So I'm fine with doing it in executive session right now.
Is that the motion, Council Leahy?
Yes.
Seconded by Council Kennedy. Any discussion on the motion? Council Noon.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe the substitute motion by Councilor Leahy is the correct one, given the facts that the city solicitor indicated to us that this matter was denied. The individual has opportunity to appeal this matter to a Superior Court case, to a Superior Court, and still have the right to take that opportunity to do so. In addition, I believe that city solicitor also indicated that there's a pending claim. If that's the case, this is not a forum to have this discussion. My understanding that the city solicitor here is to protect the city. So therefore, the substitute motion is the correct motion to discuss this matter, not here.
Any further discussion? Councilor Elliott.
I'd like to suspend the rules to allow Mr. and Mrs. Emmett an opportunity to speak.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Well, I'll second it.
Mr. Mayor.
It's in contradiction to the prior motion. Councilor Kennedy?
If we are going to go into executive session to hear the city solicitor's explanation on the damage claim refused, it might be helpful to hear from the residents from 58 Carroll Parkway first.
Seconded by Councilor Mercia. All those in favor? Signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. If you'd please state your name and address for the record. We have your address. If you'd please state your name, please.
Yes, my name is Robert Emmett Jr. at 58 Carroll Parkway, and my wife Brenda. Yes, I just have, on the morning of this claim, of this incident, my car alarm went off.
FEMA report.
And I went down and shut off my alarm. I noticed a truck, a black truck at the end of my driveway with a plow. Of course, I don't go out to look at my car, but I didn't think much of it.
We shoveled it out. Once we shoveled it out.
And then a little later on, I went to clean my car off. I noticed the damage done to my car. I asked my wife to call the police to find out what we have to do. The police came down, filled out a report. They saw the damage done to the car. They saw a yellow mark on the car. And so they says, what they suggest us to do is call the DPW. We called the DPW on that following Monday and asked to speak to Ralph Snow. And they said he would return our phone call, which he never did. I never received a phone call back from him until I called back again on Tuesday. And finally, after I got hold of him, was when I called the city manager's office to find out why he has not called me back. They finally called me back and says, okay, I'll do an investigation, and I suggest you to fill out a claim and get a form from the city hall to file a claim. So we went to get a claim form, which is, there's no such thing, it turns out, a claim form. So I was given wrong information then. So then we went and filed our claim. A couple weeks went by, haven't heard anything. We contacted the law department and told us it was under investigation. We would get a phone call back. And again, we never get a phone call back. And then so finally, a couple of days later, we got a phone call back saying, oh, it's under investigation and we will get back to you. It went on 3 more weeks, never received another phone call back until I called back again. And then I was told it's still under review, and to me this is ridiculous. So I called, we made a phone call to the city manager's office, asked to speak to the city manager, which we never received a phone call back from the city manager or the assistant city manager. We got an email saying it's still under review, and so this is when we contacted all the city councilors, including the city mayor, and only 2 city solicitors, councilors get back to us out of this whole body. Only 2 of us responded back to us.
And thank you.
And I thank you for getting back to me as soon as you guys did, and nobody else get back to me. And again, so then a week went by, and we still haven't heard anything from anybody. And we reached out to the city councilors again, and to the city manager's office, and to the mayor's office, and nobody returned our phone calls except for these 2 gentlemen, which we thank you again. And he shot an email to Councilor Elliott, emailed Bernie Lynch, and asked him for an explanation. We get an email from an assistant to assistant city solicitor, manager. Again, no phone calls were ever returned to us. I was rudely hung up 3 times by your law office and by the city manager's office, hung up on. And to me, that's unprofessional. I'm a hard-working citizen. Okay, this is a lot of money that I lost. My wife's losing money right now to come in front of us because we have to fight to get this. My wife should be at work right now to pay for this, but she's right now, and I had to lose 3 hours pay.
Some things that I did want to say, because I think I dealt with the city solicitor more than he did. It appears your investigation was based on either not getting all your information, which was part of my concern, why nobody was contacting us for all the facts. And in our last discussion, it appeared you did not have all of our facts or hadn't written them down or something to that effect, because you were saying that we didn't tell you certain things that I know we did. And yes, you did in fact laugh at me. And I said, I've had enough of you 2, and ended the call. And I, again, contacted everybody. So you did laugh at me, and that was unprofessional and rude. And I think I deserve an apology at the very least. I have evidence of what happened. Our car was parked in the driveway. He saw a plow. It was a storm. Everyone was asked to keep off the roads. We live on a dead end. You said maybe a plow drove by. Plows don't drive by dead ends. We're lucky if we get our street done one sweep after the entire city is done. You've come up with excuse after excuse. I've called the DPW for the so-called investigation. They told me it's as simple as you call them, they check into the people who are plowing in that area. If someone admits to it, they tell you. If they don't, as I said, what? We're out this because no one admitted to it? Who's going to admit to this? And I called them again because I wanted to find out when they gave you the final answer, because the last conversation I had with you, you were still waiting for a response from them, and yet your letter seemed to be dated that same day for the denial. So it makes me wonder if you denied me before you even got his final answer, but I haven't received a response back from him yet. So I don't see how you could deny this. You're making us feel like we're trying to screw the city. I mean, how could this happen to somebody's car parked in their driveway? This was before we plowed it out. This is what happened after we plowed it out. The whole piece just fell off. He saw the plow. Are we all supposed to run out and videotape when we have public vehicles on the street plowing or street cleaning or something like that, just to get the plate number to make sure that, you know, if something happens, it's covered? What are we supposed to do at this point? In the beginning, I was told if no one admits to it, there is a fund that would cover this, and then all of a sudden in the end, you're making up all these excuses saying, we didn't tell you this, we didn't tell you that, when in fact I know we did. So what are we supposed to do? May I hire a lawyer to go to appeals? We don't have money for a lawyer. And yes, I do expect an apology from you, Chris, and you, Kerry. You're not Kerry?
No.
You, Chris?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Kennedy.
can I just ask, without all the procedure stuff, what makes you think that the plow hit your car? If your car was in the driveway, and if your car was a hit and run, then why, which means that you didn't see it, then why do you think that the plow hit your car?
I just want to answer this. I never said the plow hit the car. I said, this was parked in the driveway and this is what happened. I stood there with the police officer and we tried to figure out what possibly could have happened. There was a yellow mark down here, which looked like the top of a plow. Whether he pushed the snow into the car, whether something flew off of his plow and hit it, I don't have an answer to that. Can anyone else answer that? I'm not saying he drove into my driveway and hit my car, but this is what happened. He knew he did something because the alarm went off on my car and he stopped, he or she, whoever was driving that plow.
How do you know they stopped?
Because he saw him when he shut the alarm
You
off.
said you didn't see it because it was a hit and run.
No,
I didn't see the hit of the vehicle. That's what I'm saying. She's saying that I did not see the hit and run happen. I saw him stopped at the end of my driveway.
apparently it's called a hit and run because he didn't see it when the alarm went off, I guess. So when the alarm went off, he looked out the window, shut off the alarm, and saw the plow stopped at the end of the driveway. So they knew they did something. So I guess that's considered a hit and run. That's what we were told.
Madam Solicitor.
And I know that the council had made a motion to go into executive session, and I'm happy to do that. But in order to address, I guess, some of the things, since we end up discussing it publicly, with respect to allegations that people in the law department hung up on the residents. Again, our office deals with claims all the time. The personnel in our office that handles the phone calls, they know how to do it. They do it professionally, and that's what they do. No one hung up on them. No one was ever rude to them. In fact, it was quite the opposite.
I beg to differ with you on that.
If I could just
The
finish.
solicitor has the floor.
Nor did I, or the other attorney in our office, laugh at the residents in any way, at any time did that happen. With respect to the investigation and what consists of our investigation, it was not, Councilor Elliott, a cursory investigation. It was, in fact, a very thorough investigation to the best of our ability based on the information that we had. Among the things that we did was we obtained, not through the Emirates, but we obtained a copy of the police report. What the police report indicates, again, is that at the time of the accident, there were no witnesses, and there was no suspect vehicle, which to me suggests and means that A, the accident wasn't witnessed, and two, I guess to speak to the statement that's brought here tonight, that there was a plow sitting in front, well then that would again suggest that there was a suspect vehicle, i.e. a plow. Among the other things that we had done during the course of this investigation was we had the DPW commissioner look at the type of damage that was sent to us and whether that damage was consistent with damage that would have been inflicted by a plow. The conclusion was it was not. It was not indicative of the kind of damage, the extent of the damage that you would have had you been hit by a plow. With respect to the yellow paint, the first time and the only time I had heard about the yellow paint was during my third or fourth phone call with Mrs. Emmerich. And at the time, I had noted to her that in all of our previous conversations, there was never any mention of yellow paint on her vehicle, nor was there any mention in the police report of yellow paint on this vehicle. The other thing that I had pointed out in that conversation where it abruptly ended when Mrs. Emmerich hung up was that the original version of facts that was relayed to the city, to myself and to the other attorney in the office, was that they were in their home, their car alarm went off, they looked out the window, and her husband allegedly looked out the window and looked down the street, and down the street he saw a plow driving down the street. The city, through its DPW, had in fact checked. We determined that there were no city plows driven by city workers in that area, and also checked with our contracted plow drivers. And there were two different plow drivers that they had to check with, and they indicate that it didn't occur. Now, it is not unusual that if a plow driver has an accident, there was one recently, the plow driver came forward, he gave his information, and it was a claim that actually would have ultimately been against his insurance. In that case, it was denied because the vehicle was illegally parked during the snow ban. But they do report, and they're mandated to report if there's any type of accident. There was no record that evening of any type of accident. The last version of the facts that were relayed to the city was that when the alarm went off, her husband had allegedly gone out, and when he went out, the plow was idling in front of the home and then sped off. That was information that was very different from the original version that was given to the city. So there were a number of different things that we had looked at during the course of our investigation, and in short, none of those in any way provided any evidence that this was something that happened as the result of a city plow. It was a car in a driveway, and by the way, the DPW commissioner drove by the home to determine how a car parked in a driveway could still be hit by a plow plowing the street. And I think his conclusion was if the car was in fact parked fully in the driveway, it wouldn't have been struck by a plow or anything else for that matter. So in any event, that was the extent of our investigation, and a lot of these other issues that have come up tonight, the litany of unanswered phone calls in our office alone I ended up getting involved in a matter that was not originally assigned to me, and I ended up having 4 different conversations because this became, for whatever reason, a very challenging matter at times. And we worked through it, and we nevertheless got all of our information that we needed to get. And then once we finished, we provided the Emirates with a decision on it, and Mrs. Emirates was also advised by me that in the event that she is not happy with that decision, she and her husband, that they may pursue the matter in court. And that's, in essence, a sum of the matter.
Councilor Elliott?
So I went to their house, Madam Solicitor. And I saw the way that the vehicle was parked in the driveway. Did you go over to see it?
We don't,
No,
the attorney, no,
You
the
didn't go.
attorneys don't.
Okay.
And the
So-
if I could
So I can
finish.
explain to you why it
Finish.
is
If I could-
difficult.
If I could finish.
Counselor, you asked a question.
Yeah, just yes or no. Did you go
No.
and see it or not?
The,
Just a yes or no, Madam Solicitor.
well, it's not a yes or no.
Counselor.
What I had indicated
Yeah,
is that the
She just
city,
had the floor for like 10 minutes. Can I please
We're
get
not going
my...
to turn this into a Judge Judy courtroom.
You're right.
Let her answer the
I'm
question.
glad, well, at first she didn't want to answer any questions. Now she has all the information. So,
well, I would have preferred.
This
and-
was directed to the city solicitor. Request the city solicitor provide an explanation of the damage claim refused for 58 Carroll Parkway.
right.
So I suggested you allow her to provide an explanation.
She didn't want to. She wanted to go in executive session first.
But unfortunately, we were presented with evidence that I think it needed to be responded to.
Okay.
There were allegations made regarding people in the law department, people in other offices in the city, and allegations that I know to be false. With respect to whether I visited, what I was going to simply say was that, no, I didn't. We don't do the investigation, but as I had indicated, we did ask the DPW commissioner to visit the site, and he did. It doesn't escape the fact that the police report, in large part, speaks for itself, that at the time of this accident, there were no witnesses, there was no suspect vehicle, and the information that we got changed dramatically from the beginning, first phone call to the last phone call. And the one thing that also I would say is that, again, because this matter, if we're going to be having a further discussions about the merits of it, then we can move into executive session and discuss the merits of it there. I don't believe it's advisable to be having this type of questioning in open session.
So are we allowed
Okay.
to speak at all?
Now, can I just finish up? So you didn't go to the property. That's all I was asking for. But I did. And so your concern or your question was, how is it possible for a plow to hit a vehicle that's backed into a driveway? Let me just state that last year, my front lawn was ripped apart between 3 and 4 feet by a contractor plow that I put back together myself. Span of probably about 70 feet. I did it myself. Ask Mr. Marchand. I couldn't wait for the city. I did it myself. So that's how city plows destroy property. And if you go by their house, you will understand if a plow did go by and clip their front bumper. And that's what the concern is. I find it hard to believe that you think that anyone would presume that these hardworking people are going to file some frivolous claim about a plow that they saw after a snowstorm that created damage. And they're going to go through all of these acrobatics because they're making it up. It makes no sense to me, and that's why I filed the motion. That's why I wanted an explanation. Again, it's common sense, good people. There was a problem. You're going to believe the contractors, or you're going to believe the taxpayers?
Any further discussion on the motion on the floor, which is to go into executive session? Roll call, please.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
No.
Council Nguyen.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
No.
Counselor Kennedy. Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
No.
Counselor Martin.
No.
Counselor Mendonça.
No.
3 yeas, 6 nays.
Thank you. Next, we have the city manager's portion of the agenda. Communication from city manager, responses to city council motions and requests. Is there any discussion? Motion to accept and place on file. So moved by Council Martin, second by Council Noon. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next, we have a communication to reappoint Clifford R. Krieger to the License Commission. What's the
Move
wish of the commission?
approval.
Move for approval by Council Mercia, second by Council Laurie. Roll call, please.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
Next, we have a communication, reappoint Gary Perrin to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Council Laurie, second by Council Noon. Roll call, please.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
Next, we have a communication to reappoint Corey Belanger to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Council Noon, second by Council Laurie. Roll call, please.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Noon.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote to authorize the manager to execute a memorandum of understanding for Unit C for July 1st, 2012 through June 30th,
Move to approve.
2013. Motion to waive the full reading by Council Laurie, seconded by Council Martin. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. In City Council vote. Authorizing City Council to ratify and approve the execution by the city manager of the memorandum of understanding between the City of Lowell and MVEA Unit C covering the period July 1st, 2012 through June 30th, 2015.
Approve.
Move for approval by Council Laurie, seconded by Council Martin. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça.
No.
8 yeas.
Next, we have a vote to authorize the manager to execute a memorandum of understanding for Unit D through July 1st, 2012 through June 30th, 2015. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Mendonça, seconded by Councilor Noon. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. In City Council vote, authorizing the City Council to ratify and approve the execution by the City Manager of the Memorandum of Understanding between the City of Lowell and MVEA Unit D covering the period July 1st, 2012 through June 30th, 2015.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Council Laurie, seconded by Council Noon. Roll call, please.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Noon.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
No.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça.
No. Mayor,
7 yeas.
Mr. Mayor,
Council
I'd like to change my prior vote to be in opposition. That's a no vote on number 7.
Sure. Next, we have a vote to apply, accept expended grant for Health Department, $100,000 for substance abuse services. Motion to waive the full reading by Council Mendonça, second by Council Mercier. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Reading by title in City Council vote. Authorizing the city manager to apply for, accept, and expend a grant in the amount of $100,000 through the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Public Health, Bureau of Substance Abuse Services to provide Massachusetts opioid abuse prevention collaborative services. It's the wish of the council.
Move approval.
Move for approval by Council Kennedy, seconded by Council Martin. Roll call, please.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote to transfer funds of $2,500 to the city clerk's office. Motion to waive the full reading by Council Martin, second by Council Laurie. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Reading by title and city council vote. Order to transfer $2,500 to the city clerk's office to cover costs for legal advertising of the ordinances, loan orders, public hearings, etc. through June 30th, 2013. What's the wish of the council? Council Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some time ago, I said when the manager has a contingency account, we're taking things out of it to leave a balance, and they've done just that, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Move approval.
Move for approval by Council Mercier, second by Council Mendonça. Roll call, please.
Council Mercier.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Council Nguyen.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Laurie.
Yes.
Council Martin.
Yes.
Council Mendonça.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have reports, subcommittee, neighborhood subcommittee for May 21st, 2013. Council Leahy.
Thank you. Neighborhood Subcommittee met tonight.
We have an out-of-state
Oh,
travel.
excuse me. We have, before we
okay.
begin that, we have communication from city manager, request approval of out-of-state travel, one for the Lowell Police Department. So,
Mr. Mayor,
Council Mercier.
I'd like to make the motion to amend and approve the reimbursement for the per diem request, because I think this one here was already voted on, but we have to amend it and then approve the recommendation. So the motion is to amend and approve the recommendation.
So moved by Council Mercier, second by Council Mendonça. Roll call, please.
Council Mercier.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Council Nguyen.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Laurie.
Yes.
Council Martin.
Yes.
Council Mendonça.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. Next, we have Council Leahy, the neighborhood subcommittee report for May 21st, 2013.
Thank you. Tonight, the neighborhood subcommittee met to discuss regarding amending Chapter 104 of the city ordinances to permit keeping of farm animals and fowl for personal use. All subcommittee members were in attendance, Council Laurie, Councilor Mercier, as well as a number of other councilors were present. The purpose of the meeting was to hear and to get information regarding this ordinance. We heard from a number of people that were passionate against it. We heard from a few neighborhood leaders that just wanted to give us some information that some of their input, they were for it. Some people they talked to were against it. Again, we just met trying to get information, trying to get some answers, questions, so that the next time we meet, we'll have more information to deal with the ordinance. City solicitor was also in attendance, and she was very helpful with some explanation on the ordinance, and explained that any information from the meeting would be helpful for her also. Out of the meeting, we came up with 3 motions. The first one was to motion by Council Laurie to ask for the health department, for a report from the health department regarding disease. And that was passed 3-0. Second motion from Council Laurie, seconded by Council Mercier, was to request a report from the assessor's office on how this may change the value of your home. And that was accepted or passed 3-0. The third motion was from Council Laurie, seconded by Council Mercier, a report from the Animal Control Office and Animal Advisory Board, giving us some information on the impact that this ordinance would have for the citizens. I think that was right. And that passed 3-0 also. So the meeting went the full hour. We heard from a lot of people. We got a lot of good information to work with, and we recessed until the next meeting. Thank you. if anyone else has anything to add.
Council Mercy and then Council Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We didn't actually discuss this, what I'm about to ask for now, but at that time when Councilor Marty Laurie made the 3 motions for the reports from the assessor, the health department, the animal advisory, animal control, I would hope that we would get these reports before we meet in the next meeting, because although the city solicitor was gracious enough and went through a lot of work to provide a draft of a particular ordinance, I couldn't comment on that ordinance because it was put on our desk. So if some way we could get these reports well in advance of the next meeting, that'd be great. Thanks.